Alright, so we're going to do interval notation. We're going to again talk about starting with an inequality. So far we've always been just given an inequality. Inequality leads to a number line graph, and from the number line graph we set up our interval notation by saying what's the border on the left, what's the border on the right. Do we include the number on the border? If we do, it's a square bracket. Do we not include the number on the border? If not, then it's a round bracket. But we've always started with an inequality. So if and an inequality was pretty much done. But if we don't have an inequality set up as given as something like this, if we've got something like c plus 5 is less than or equal to 10. Well, here's an inequality that's not really set up yet. It's not really solved yet. So we've got to solve our inequality and then set up our number line and then set up our interval notation. So from here we just solve it like it's pretend like this is an equal sign. The only time we don't treat it differently, or we have to treat it, the only time we have to treat it differently is if we're dividing by or multiplying by a negative number. Then we would switch the direction of the inequality sign. We'll see that maybe in a subsequent future video. So I got to solve this. Subtract 5 on the left, subtract 5 on the right. Because we're subtracting, we don't have to worry about changing the direction. Only when we multiply or divide by a negative number do we change the direction of the inequality. So we're subtracting. C plus 5 minus 5 goes away. Less than or equal to still. 10 minus 5, 5. So from an inequality equation, let's say, or an inequality that's not solved, we have to solve it by working through the properties of equality to get to c is less than or equal to 5. Alright, so from here, well, we've done this before. Set up our number line. Here's our 5 is our border on the right side. C is less than. Our solution set is less than or equal to 5. Where do we go over here? Well, we go to negative infinity, so that's our border over here. What's our border over here? 5. Do we include 5 as a solution on our number line? Yes, c could be less than or equal to 5, so because it could be equal to, we put a square bracket right there. Now that we've got our number line set up, we put our border on the right side, border on the left side. Do we touch infinity? Nope. Round bracket. Do we include 5? Yep. Square bracket. Put a comma between them. There's our interval notation. From an inequality that's not solved. We've got to solve the inequality and then from the number line go to here. Alright, different one might be something like, let's go to a different page. Excuse me. D, yeah, let's see, how about this one? 10 minus D is less than 9. Just throwing out numbers here. What's our interval notation for that? I don't know. Well, let's solve it. We've got to solve for D on one side. So if we want to isolate D on one side, well, let's subtract 10. Subtract 10. Because we're subtracting 10, we don't have to worry about changing the direction of the number, or changing the direction of the inequality. So 10 minus 10 is 0. Let's see what happens to subtracting 10 on each side. Minus D is still minus D. Less than is still less than, because we're just subtracting. 9 minus 10, negative 1. Now I've got negative D less than negative 1. I don't care about negative D. I want to know what D is. So let's try to multiply by negative 1. Left side and right side. We're going to multiply by negative 1. And what does that get us? Negative times negative is positive. D on the left side looks good. On the right side, negative 1 times negative 1, negative times negative is a positive. I can put a positive over here, but we don't have to. 1 times 1, 1. But because we've multiplied by negative 1, we have to change the direction arrow. So now instead of less than, it becomes greater than, just because we've multiplied by negative number. That changes the direction of the arrow. All right, now from here, d is greater than 1. Let's make our number line. D is greater than 1. Where's our number line? There's a positive 1 right there. Our numbers are to the right of that border. D is greater than 1. Is 1 part of our solution? Is 1 greater than 1? Nope. So we've got to not include 1 on the border. Over here, we go over to positive infinity. And there's our solution right in here. What's our border? On the left side, it's 1. On the right side, positive infinity. I'll put it out here just so we know what's out there. Do we ever touch infinity? Nope. Rounded bracket. Is 1 part of our solution? Nope. According to our number line, not. So we've got a rounded bracket there. We've got a comma between them. And there is our solution set, our interval notation for that original inequality that wasn't solved. This one shows that we're dividing by -1 or multiplying by -1, or multiplying by a negative number means that we change the direction of the inequality. And that's the biggest difference here.